Hi there, Sarah Lynn here with Enneagram MBA, certified Enneagram coach and visibility coach that works with the Enneagram, the wisdom of the Enneagram, and the power of your personality to really build and grow a business that aligns with your strengths, your personalities, your goals, your desires, and also helps you understand where your roadblocks might be because they're inevitably going to come up. So when you come face to face with them, you're not thinking, oh, see, I wasn't cut out for this. I'm not good at this. It's just, okay, this is something that is typically going to come up for me until I heal this or process this in a healthy way. And so it also gives you some guidance on how to do that and gives you a heads up. Hey, this is probably going to come up for you. So be aware. And here's some ideas for how to navigate around it so that you can keep moving forward on your path towards your goals, towards what you want your business, your work, your life to be like. And so today what we're going to do is take it way back to the beginning for anybody who is still in the typing process, uncovering what is their dominant Enneagram type. Quizzes, assessments can always give you some additional clues. I am cautious. And while I'm talking, I'm going to pull up the assessment that we're going to be going through today. But they do give you some key clues, give you some questions to consider to ask yourself that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise. At the end of the day, though, this is a self-identification process. So you don't want to rely on just a single test, especially if it's one of those free tests or free quizzes. The test that we're going to be reviewing today, the results, comes from the Enneagram Institute test. Oh, sorry. Got an itch on my nose. It is a $12 assessment, 144 questions, takes about a half an hour to go through. And it gets deeper than just looking at your behaviors. So I do feel like if you're going to really use a test, this would be my recommendation. I use this one in my own typing sessions, my Know Your Numbers sessions that I help people with. So if that's something you end up wanting to do, there'll be a link in the comments below to book something like that or to learn more about what that would look like. That would help you uncover and then understand, okay, great, know my type, but what do I do with that? I'll also share a couple of free resources at the end with you as well. But today, let's look at this. Let's look at these results and see if we cannot help you start to narrow down your own type by digging into these. And even if you don't see your top type or two on here, stick with me because I'm going to give you some general things to consider, to reflect on, even if you don't see your type, but specifically if one of your top 2-3 types are on here, absolutely stick with me. So this person got back a type 4, pretty high up there. So sometimes they're a lot closer, it might be 26, 25, 24. So they're all really close. This one, 26, that's a significantly more, but we're still going to look at the top 4. I tend to look at the top 4, sometimes top 3, depending on how big the gap is between the third and the fourth one, just to help validate that top one. So you can feel really confident that you explored, you asked yourself these questions, because the typing process is very much an important part of the process, helps you uncover more things about yourself, ask yourself questions that maybe you've never asked yourself before. And so you get a deeper understanding of yourself just going through this part. So even if this person felt like, yes, I'm most likely a 4, let's just look at some of the others just to validate that and then to gain some additional perspective. So we have 4, we have 5, we have 6, and we have type 7. Right away, the thing that jumps out at me is that a 4 and a 5 are wings of one another. So sometimes if you have a pairing like even 5 and 6, 6 and 7, right? It might be, okay, am I a type 4 with a wing 5, or am I type 5 with a wing 4? Am I a 6 with a wing 5 or a 5 with a wing 6? And at the end of the day, that is going to come down to that core motive. It's not about behavior. It's about that driver. So a 4 is really looking for that significance, to be significant, to be extraordinary, to be kind of one of a kind. And then at at the same time belonging for being their authentic self. And so the worst thing is being caught up in mundane tasks, having no significance, being insignificant. Whereas a type 5 is it's really important for them to be competent, capable, self-sufficient, and running away from being reliant on anybody else, being incapable, being incompetent. Type 6, really looking for that safety and security, running away from anything that would make them feel unsafe, unsupported. And then a 7 is running towards fulfillment, satisfaction, happiness, and then running away from uncomfortable feelings, anything that's going to take away from that feeling. Anything that might take away from their freedom, from their options, from that variety, something they're going to run away from. So you can see there are a lot of commonalities. There are a lot of similarities, but there's also some clear differences. And it's not, oh, I don't want anything else. I just want that core motive. It's like, no, all of these things. I'm personally a type 7, and all of those things sound amazing. I just know for me, the thing that is driving me the most and the thing that scares me the most is that those things, those motives and fears of a type 7. So that's how I was able to identify so that right off the bat, that's always what I like to look at. The second thing is looking at your stances, which in this case is the 4 and the 5 are in the same stance grouping. They're in the withdrawing stance, which means they go within to get their needs met. They will go within to check in and see how they're feeling, like a type 4 who is in the heart center of intelligence that tends to process information first with their heart, with their feelings. Whereas the type 5 is going to maybe go in and think about something, being in the head center. And what is interesting with these results, and why I would want somebody to explore the others and not just say, oh, I'm totally a 4, is because 5, 6, and 7 are all in the head thinking center of intelligence, which is really interesting. So, and one hand, it's like, wow, this person thinks a lot. This person, processes information through their head, a lot based on these 3 results. But that top 4, right, is that type 4 is right there at the top, pretty clearly up there. So just something to question. I can't tell this person what type they are. I can just give you some direction, give you some direction on things to dig deeper in, to ask yourself more. So that would be another question is, how do you process information? Do you notice that you're comfortable feeling your feelings, or do you tend to think first? A type 5 especially is going to think first, and then, not to say they don't have feelings, but they're going to get to those later. They tend to be a little bit more detached. They compartmentalize. Now's not a good time to feel this way. We got to get in to fix the problem. We got to problem solve. Whereas a 4, very much going to feel those feelings first, very in touch with how they're feeling. And they can sit with others who are having a hard time without problem solving, which a type 5 will want to jump in and problem solve. They both are repressed in the doing center, 4, 5s, and 9s. Nobody wants to be said that they're repressed in anything. It doesn't mean that you don't do things. It just means sometimes it's not a productive use of doing. So something to question on, something to look more at is those stances. We talked about the center of intelligence, understanding, okay, do I process more my feelings first, my head? Where am I at on that? And then the other thing to take note of is that 4s and 5s both kind of consider themselves as loners. For a 4, it's going to make them kind of sad. They're going to be kind of sad about that, because as much as they want to be unique and individual, they want to be accepted and they want to belong, and they feel like they're inherently defective, like something's wrong with them. So that's where their passion or their emotional pattern of envy comes out. It's more in comparing themselves and, oh my gosh, everybody else has something that I don't have and I'll never have it. I'm defective in some way. And that will make them feel sad. Whereas a 5, they might actually prefer to be alone. to be a loner, to be able to do things their own way, to be able to go and find the information, come up with the problem. Really remember, being self-sufficient is really important to them. So they're not going to necessarily be looking for collaborations like a 6, who tends to be the most collaborative, the most cooperative on the Enneagram. Again, not that any of these people, not that any of these types can't take on some of these other tendencies. It's just kind of things to question. How do I like to work in a group by myself? Do I see myself as a loner? And then how do I feel about that? Am I okay with it? Do I prefer it? Or does that make me sad? Continue to get these clues. The other thing to look at with the 4 up here and then the 6 is that these two, 4 and 6, along with the 8, are in this emotional reactivity category, where when a conflict happens, when something bad might happen, a hard conversation, they're going to get emotional about it. They're going to have a strong emotional reaction. It might be sad, it might be anger, it might be worry, but they're going to have a reaction, and they're going to vent about it. And then whoever they're venting to, they want them to have an equally passionate response, an equally emotional reaction to how they're feeling. Be upset as I am about this. Is kind of how they handle it. Whereas a 5, they're thinking, show me the data, don't give me the drama. They're with our 1s and our 3s, where they're going to deal with it more with, I'm sure we're rational, sensible adults here. We can find a solution. A 5 is going to think, let me just get to work. I'm going to take some time to sort this out, look into some potential options here, and then I'll get back to you with a solution. And then a 7 is in the positive outlook triad, where they're thinking they're going to reframe and put a positive spin on it. Glass is half full. I'm sure it all happens for a reason. Problem. Oh, there's a problem, but I'm fine and we're all fine. It's okay. So that would be something to kind of ask yourself, how do I handle conflict? Something interesting about 4s and 7s is that there's self-preservation, social, and sexual, each under each type. So we have potentially 3 types of 4s, 3 types of 5, 3 types of 6s, 3 types of 7s when you add in that additional layer. Self-preservation 4s can sometimes look like a 7 because they feel all the feelings, but they don't necessarily express them outwardly, especially the hard feelings. So they can sometimes even look busy and productive, like a 3, sometimes too, like busy, like a 7. But underneath, they are feeling all the things. Whereas a 7, they just don't allow themselves enough time to even slow down. The minute that they are sitting with themselves, it's like, oh my God, I got to put on a podcast. I got to turn on the TV. I got to put on some music. I got to read a book. I got to move. I got to do this. I got to meet this person, call this person, right? Oh, so much doing, because they don't want that silence. They don't want that anxiety, any hard feelings to catch up with them and have to be sitting by themselves in the quiet. Whereas a 4, they're going to be much more comfortable with that. The other thing I want you to notice about a 4 and a 7 is that they are both in this category that doesn't get talked about a lot with the Enneagram, but it has to do with your kind of how you relate to others, relate to the world around you with this object relations grouping. And 1s, 4s, and 7s are in the frustration grouping, which means they have this idealistic view of the world, of themselves, of what they want their future to look like. And when it doesn't happen, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating as a 4 that I have this ideal image of who I want to be, but I'm not living up to it. As a 7, it's so frustrating that I have all these ideas and I want to experience all these things, but I'm not able to do it right now. And I'm just so frustrated that it's not this way. So that is something to kind of pay attention to as well. Really interesting, the connection there. Wrapping this up, as if these happen to be your results or you're getting results, I would absolutely start with your core motive and your core fear. What do you most prefer and what are you most afraid of? And that will give you some clues. And then the stances I find to be really helpful too. 4s and 5 we mentioned are in that withdrawing stance. 6s are in the compliant or the dutiful stance. And then 7s are in what they call an aggressive or assertive stance. So understanding how you go after getting your needs met. Is it outward? Is it inward? Are you pushing against others? Are you looking to others for that guidance to get your needs met? So that is the second thing I would look at and reflect on. Your conflict style, you could absolutely do that. The other thing that we didn't really talk about, but I have heard from many clients that have said that understanding their stress arrow is really helpful for them to know that, okay, this is what I look like when I'm stressed out. And it's like, oh my gosh, knowing that I go to this type, that is exactly how I look. And so that will offer some additional clues as well. For a type 4, they go to a type 2 in stress. So, if this is one of your top ones, just validate it by looking at what are some of those unhealthy or unproductive tendencies, behaviors, thoughts, feelings that a type 2 has when they're stressed. For a type 5, they're going to go to an 8. Not an 8. They're going to go to a 7 when they are in stress. They're going to go to an 8 when they are in health. And so they tend to be, get scattered and not finish things. And they usually are so focused, but they might be unfocused. So understanding what that looks like for you as a type 5 can offer some additional clues. A type 6 goes to a type 3 in stress, and then a 7 goes to a type 1 in stress. So if you're wanting to understand, more about your type, or am I this or that? That would be the third area that I would look at. So hopefully some of that was helpful, giving you some additional clues, guiding you in some different areas to look at. Cause I know it can be kind of like, okay, great. Like, well, what do I learn? What do I look at more? What do I reflect on more? And so just understanding how these 4 types specifically are connected to one another, questioning this or that. Am I more this, more that? You probably have a little bit of all of these inside of you. Everything we talked about, you might be able to relate to a little bit. It's just what comes up the most for you. So with that, let me know in the comments below if this was helpful, if reviewing results was helpful. I've been thinking about doing more of these. Where we look at real life results, because this is an important part of the Enneagram process, where you understand what your type is. That's where it all happens. It can be a short process. It can be a long process. If you need guidance, I would love to be your guide on that journey. Let me know by booking a Know Your Number session. The link for that is below. Also, I have a couple of free resources. There is a guidebook that goes through all 9 core motives, core fears, additional insights about each to help you narrow down even further, gets into some more detail than what we went through today. And then there's also a type comparison guide. So if you're just like, I am just stuck between a type 4 and a type 5, I don't know. All the types have been compared in that type comparison guide, and will give you hopefully some additional clarification on that, on what type you most identify with there as well. So let me know in the comments below what you got from this. Say hello. And then, like I said, if I can be of resource to you somehow in your Enneagram journey, there's links below to learn more about what those are. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you soon.